The Shepnaz Podcast begins now.
You're listening to the Shepnaz Podcast. Here at Shepherd Church, everything we do here is to connect our community in a meaningful relationship with Christ. I'm Joe, and I'm your host today. And for today's episode, we are highlighting the ministry of our Celebrate Recovery group that is getting ready to celebrate their 21st anniversary here at Shepherd. And I am joined by Becky Jackson. And welcome, Becky. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me here.
Before we get into Celebrate Recovery, we'd love to get to know you a little more. Could you tell us a little bit about your life, your family? What makes Becky Becky?
Well, I grew up on a small farm up near Bucyrus, Ohio, and I got saved when I was 8 years old. I went down with my girlfriend to the altar, and we both got saved on the same day. And then as I grew with the Lord that way, I was able to do some missions things. And our church, it wasn't a Nazarene church, but it was, I forget what the name of it actually was. It was called Kaler Avenue Church. Mm-hmm. But when missionary speakers came, I always was in the car waiting for Mom and Dad to get to the church because I wanted to see all of those artifacts that they bring with them.
Yeah.
And the one lady was actually from India, and so I got to talk to her through the interpreter, and it was just really neat to, as like probably 11-year-old girl, to be able to talk and ask questions that way. So then, as I got older, I moved out of the home when I was 21, and my dad said, "Well, now you know that we won't let you starve. You know, you got a job and you're going to be fine." So everything was really good, and but time went by, and I just started slipping away from going to church, and then the Lord was just really dealing with me on it. So then I started going back, and then there were just different things in my life that happened, and I really did like my jobs that I've had.
Okay.
And so that has been real good. My latest job was...
What kind of jobs did you have?
Okay. I worked for a modeling agency.
Okay.
And I was one of the teachers for that. And then I had... what else did I do? Oh, I had a lady that was there, Jerry Revish. I don't know if you remember him, his wife.
I remember the name. Yeah.
Well, his wife, she was the one that instructed me at the modeling school.
Okay.
And so that was just a neat thing just to have her, in my life too, because she was a Christian. So all of that was good. And then, it was just one of these things that God just intervened in so many areas of my life. And just like when I met Bob, my husband now, it was just one of those things. It was just a God thing. One of my friends was getting ready to go to their anniversary to Puerto Rico. And she said, can you come over and watch our dog and be with the dog? As we're going to be gone 11 days. And I said, sure. So I just stayed at their house and everything. And then she goes, oh, by the way, Bob is going to be coming in. He's going to be moving down in our basement. And then I said, oh, I know who he is. I said that he was at your house at Easter, right? And she said, yes. And so we talked every day. He was a Christian, and we talked every day. We walked that dog every day, too. That was something else. But that was just a big highlight in my life because after I had gotten divorced from my ex-husband, I didn't date anybody. I didn't do anything. I was at church here most of the time, And so it was a God wink. I mean, he hooked us up together, and I never looked back. And so we get along really well together. We've been married 10 years now. So I'm happy.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
wonderful.
I'm happy about that.
Well, you mentioned in passing, you're normally here at church. So that gives us a little bit of a segue. We're talking about Shepherd, and so you've been at Shepherd for a little while now. Tell us what brought you to Shepherd and kind of your experiences as you've been here.
Well, what brought me to Shepherd was Reverend Joe Foster. And he brought the congregation, it was a little mini congregation that he had. He brought us here because he was going to go do the Fountain of Hope. And so when I came here to this church, I could not believe how nice it was. And there were so many women, and it was so many things that you could get involved with. And I thought, oh, I'm staying here. I'm staying here. So, and that's what he wanted us to do, to stay here. I think I'm the only one that stayed here.
Of the group?
Yeah, of the group.
So when you first came, who was the lead pastor then?
I'm trying to think.
Would that have been ESTEP, or was that before that?
Who was right before ESTEP?
Well, now you're quizzing me.
Yes,
and I don't have the answers.
Yes, ESTEP was here. Yeah, I don't really recall.
Okay, and then you've been through, and Sam was here, and now Rob.
Yes,
so you've seen quite a bit of change.
Yes, yes.
But it's great that you've been here. So we're going to start talking a little bit about Celebrate Recovery.
Okay.
But before we do that, we're just going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
Okay.
Several Sundays each year, we have an opportunity for child dedication. When parents dedicate their children, they are showing a desire to commit them to the Lord and His service. Our next dedication will be on Mother's Day, May 14th, during both worship services at 9 and 10:45 a.m. If your family is ready to take this step, let us know by emailing podcast@shepnaz.org or visit the connection card on the contact page at shepnaz.org. Are you new to the church? The pastors would love the chance to get to know you. Tuesday, May 15th at 6 p.m., Shepherd will host Pizza with the Pastors at Massey's Pizza in Gahanna. If you would like to join them, let us know by emailing podcast@shepnaz.org. Okay, so we're back. Thank you for sticking around. And right now, we're going to talk about Celebrate Recovery. And I guess, first of all, let's tell our listeners, especially those that maybe have never even heard of it,
Sure.
What is Celebrate Recovery?
Celebrate Recovery was started out in California at Rick Warren's church. Mm-hmm. And one of the men that was there at his congregation was an alcoholic, and he wanted to have more of a Christ-centered recovery program, some way, somehow. And that's how that got started. John Baker is his name.
Okay.
He passed away recently, maybe 2 years ago. He passed away, and he's the one that talked to Rick Warren to see, can we do this? So they prayed about it, those two, and they prayed about it, and everything just came together. So that's how Celebrate Recovery got started.
And I guess for just as a point of reference, it's like a 12-step program. It's kind of like AA, but it's different.
It's different in certain ways, yeah.
So kind of tell us how that differentiates, in what ways that it's different.
Okay, ours is completely Christ-centered. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. And we also join each other, like all the different churches around that has Celebrate Recovery in our area. We all get together and do things together, and we exchange people when we need a testimony. So that's another thing too, that's a little different. So I think what for Celebrate Recovery for me was, everybody has hurts, habits, and hang-ups. So, and I was coming here, and Nancy's asked me one day, she goes, Becky, I noticed you've been here at this church. She said, well, how would you like to come and join us sometime for a meeting with Celebrate Recovery? And I said, sure, I'll come. And she said, okay. And she told me all about what we would be doing and everything. And so when I first came here, all I could do was cry. We got in these rooms, in these small rooms, and everybody got a chance to talk about either the testimony that night, if it was a testimony, or if it was something else, a lesson. So that's how I got in here. And it was like 3 different times. I mean, I could barely speak. I mean, it was this God thing. And so I thought to myself, this is where I need to be. This is where I need to be. So,
well, let me ask you, because I'm sure some people that, have not attended, they might be a little bit apprehensive. They don't know if they fit for that group. So kind of tell me a little bit about that. Is Celebrate Recovery open to anybody? Is it a closed group? How can you come if you want to be able to come?
To come to just a meeting, the meeting, it's for everyone. That's except for you have to be 18 or older.
Okay.
But then the men, what we do is let's say we have a meeting. So we have a meeting, and everybody's there in the meeting. And then when that meeting is over, then we go into small groups. So the men go in their small group, and the women go in their small groups. So that's how we work that out.
When you first come into the meeting,
right?
There's a combined kind of for lack of a better term, kind of a community time where all of you are together for the first part of that. It's
in some regular meeting.
And then you go into kind of a breakdown. And so you have the men go to one part, the women go to another part, and they're able to share a little more intimately with each of the groups. Then.
Right, that's right. So for like a meeting, let's say the meeting's coming up and it's going to be a testimony, a live testimony, or one of the ones we pull off of the web. And so we'll do that. We'll do our regular routine that we do, and then there'll be time for the testimony or the other thing. So that's what we do. And so it's really good, too, because I like it when people I see them writing stuff as we're doing the series of all the different things that we do. So I enjoy it. Yeah, it's really good.
Now I know that just because I've seen some of the like the tangible things that you do during the services. So there's some milestones and things like that you guys will recognize. What kinds of things on a regular group meeting do you recognize during that time?
Okay, we have chips.
Okay,
and they're like coins, and then we have chips and coins. So we just announce, anybody got 1 year, 2 years, whatever it is. And then we look around to see who's going up, so they go up and they get their chip or their coin. And the coins are the ones that are the older. You've been doing it longer than the ones with the chips.
Okay.
And the chips can be used to get to that point, or it can be like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't make it. I got to go back and start over again.
Sure.
So different things like that. So that's we have songs. We have like 3 songs in the beginning, and then we go into announcements, which is usually for me, and then we go ahead and start doing the chips and coins, and then they go into. We have wristbands, and so we go, if usually the guys are doing it up there, and so that's another thing that they get. And
so those are all based off of different milestones, like 1 month, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, those kinds of things, right? All right, so, and you had mentioned before, I know one of like the catchphrases for Celebrate Recovery is the hurts, hang-ups, and habits, right? I probably didn't get that in the right order, but
it's okay.
I think those are at least the 3 words. So in that sense, certainly I'm sure you do have some people there that have substance abuse problems, but that's not the only thing that people are dealing with.
That's right.
In the group. That there's other people that are dealing with issues of like codependency or issues of self-image and things like that. So it's a much wider range than what typically people would think of if they were thinking of a traditional 12-step program. Could you speak to that for a little bit?
The one thing I've noticed more recently is a lot of mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not quite sure, how that all comes around. But everybody's able to come. We want them to come because in some way they're going to have something that they can take home, what they heard, in the meeting, or what they heard during the testimony or the lesson.
So I know that you're in a little bit of kind of a transition time right now because we've been doing remodeling throughout the whole church. And so at one point you were meeting in the sanctuary and then you're kind of in the fireside room and kind of gotten bounced around. Where's your normal home right now?
We're still going back and forth.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's at least, we know it's here at Shepherd.
Right.
And come inside the lobby, look for Becky, and she's going to point you to the right room.
Right.
It's been in the past few weeks, it's either been in the sanctuary or the fireside room, or even I think you guys might have been in the conference room at one point. I don't know.
I don't think we were in a conference room.
Okay, so it either bouncing back and forth between those. What time do you guys meet?
We start at 7.
Okay, and that's on Thursdays?
Thursdays.
Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And if we're going to be in the fireside room, then I have to move my signs down by the gym, where the fireside room comes there. So, and then I always have to put the sign on the front door here with the arrow that you got to go down there.
All right.
Type thing.
Now, I know we've talked a little bit about, what services are like and the different people that it can minister to and kind of the way that it can provide guidance to working through some of your issues in a Christ-centered fashion. Is there anything else that you would like to share with listeners that, that if with an open mic, what you'd like to talk about with Celebrate Recovery?
I just think that so many people really are struggling, and money-wise, and just your own family, things like that. But when they come into these rooms, they're getting a little bit more knowledge how they can help themselves if they come regularly. You got to come regularly so that you can understand the program at its best. So I would say keep coming back.
All right.
That's what we say. Keep coming back.
So actually, one of the reasons that we're featuring this on the podcast this week is that this Thursday is a special Thursday for you guys. Can you speak about that a little bit? Yes.
In May 11th, we will be having our 21st anniversary.
Wow.
At Celebrate Recovery here at Shepherd. And we will have a meal at 6 p.m.
Okay.
And then at 7, then we go to either the fireside room or the sanctuary for the meeting. So that's what we'll be doing this time. And I told them that I don't know what they want, but I said I'm going to get pizza, and I'm going to get salad, and I'm going to get cake. So most people like those kind of things.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with that said, if anyone is interested in being a part of that, it would be great to know ahead of time that you're coming, but you're welcome regardless. You can go to the church website, is shepnaz.org/celebrate-recovery. That was shepnaz.org/celebrate-recovery. And on there's some information about Celebrate Recovery, and there's also a link there where you can email Becky. Also, if you can't remember all that, you can always email podcast@shepnaz.org, and we'll get you some of that information. Becky, I want to thank you for coming in, and you've done a great job.
It's my pleasure.
We just want to remind everyone again that the CR anniversary celebration is this Thursday at 7 p.m. They're going to have dinner at what time? 6 o'clock. That'll do it for our episode today. We want to thank you for joining us and encourage you to email us at podcast@shepnaz.org with your thoughts, comments, or questions. Share us with a friend and help others get plugged in. As always, check out everything at shepnaz.org on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. God bless and have a great day. This podcast is a production of the Shepherd Church of the Nazarene, Gahanna, Ohio. Email to podcast@shepnaz.org and let us know what you think.